Welcome to the BiggerPockets channel. We are going to be talking today about how to price a medium-term rental, and this is actually going to be a pricing walkthrough, something we haven't done here on the channel before, and I'm excited to get started on this because this is definitely a spot where pricing your medium-term rental can be challenging, but don't worry, we're going to talk about this today, specifically on how to do this. For those of you that are not familiar with me, my name is Jesse Vasquez. I am a real estate investor. I was actually recently on BiggerPockets episode 780 and 728. You definitely want to check those out. And if you want to follow my journey, you can head over to Instagram at @TheRealJesseVasquez. We're going to be talking about how to make 2023 the best year in real estate ever, despite the challenges and tribulations that we are currently going through with higher interest rates. Medium-term rentals are a way to navigate through those issues. So we're going to be diving in on specifically how to price these properties. So if you're unsure how to price your medium-term rental, that is not a problem. A lot of people are actually having the same issue. In fact, I had those issues. We're going to be talking about how to 2x your long-term rental income with medium-term rentals. By the end of this presentation, you will have the easy next steps on how to price your medium-term rental. In today's agenda, we're going to be covering 4 topics. We're going to be starting off with knowing your base medium-term rental rate, tools to competitively price your medium-term rental. We're also going to be talking about tips, how to 2x your medium-term rental, and commonly asked questions. We're going to answer those with you today. That's on the agenda. When I first got in the medium-term rental space back in 2015, I was guesstimating. There was not any software. There was not any information out there for us to specifically know how to price our medium-term rentals. And I started again back in 2015 when this was relatively new. And medium-term rentals have actually been around. And the way that I actually got pricing is that I just asked the folks that I was talking to, whether that was a travel nurse or a clinician or a doctor. I didn't actually have a number that was set in place. And I was actually just throwing out random numbers. And I just wanted to make sure that I paid my mortgage. That was the goal. I wanted to make a couple extra bucks. Again, at the end of the day, the goal is to try to 2x your long-term rental operation. And for me, I was blindly operating with caution as I didn't really know what was going on. I didn't really know how to price. There was one thing significant that happened for me. One day I started to think big when I saw that there was opportunities and there's pricing systems. They're based on value and how we can actually help our clinicians that are coming into our markets or relocation companies that are coming into our space. So today we're going to dive into specifically how to do that where we're not actually guesstimating. So this is actually my first property that I bought in 2015. And no, it was not this beautiful when I first purchased it, but my rent on this property was $2,200 at the time of purchase. My principal interest and payments were $2,000. So if I was to rent this long-term, I would only be making about a couple $100s a month. As I operated in the Central Valley, I realized that there is a lot of opportunity during the slower season to medium-term rent my property. So I was actually short-term renting and medium-term renting during the slow season. My best month as a short-term rental was $5,000 per month, and my average medium-term rental during the slow season was $4,500 a month. So as you can see, there was not quite a big difference between the two. So what's extremely important when you're getting involved in this space is knowing your medium-term rental base rate, and that's going to be based off of your long-term rental rate. So everybody's going to have a specific long-term rental rate. So you're definitely going to want to know how to search for the rental rate in your market. So let's dive into that. There are 3 things that you want to do to know your current long-term rental rate market. And the best way to do this is actually to head over to Zillow.com, and actually on that website, it will show you what the average rent is for a property. Number 2 is Rentometer. You can actually head over to that website. They will give you logical data that's current, up to date. I do believe you might have a subscription that you have to pay for, but I do also believe they have a 7-day free trial, so you might want to check that out. And number 3, my favorite, is actually connecting with local management companies. And these companies will actually give you up-to-date live information on what's happening in those zip codes or in that specific market. So we're breaking down my property specifically. And on Zillow.com, we were able to get a rent estimate of $2,200. So we're going to be checking different variances from different platforms. And again, this is based off of Zillow price of $2,200. Rentometer came in at $2,100 for my property. And number 3, check with the local property management company. That's what I did. And they actually acknowledged that $2,200 was correct. So Zillow, thumbs up to you for actually coming through on that. So we're actually going to be breaking down tools to competitively price your medium-term rental. There's not a lot of information out there right now, so we're going to be breaking this down in very bite-sized pieces. So please make sure you have your notepad and pens out as we're going to dive into this right now. Knowing your comps. So Furnish Finder has some great information where you can actually go on there for free, furnishfinder.com/stats. This will actually allow you to look at the properties that are in these markets and you can show the price points, and we'll have a little bit more to show you in the next couple slides on that. But this is going to be definitely a spot that you want to look for this information, and you're going to want to use pricing software analytics. There's not a lot of pricing software out there, but we'll dive into this specifically on what you can actually use. So pricing software, there's not a whole lot of software out right now that I can actually break down the prices when it comes to the medium-term rental space. Two in particular that I like to use is a company called Mashvisor and another one called Price Labs, and this will give you some more detailed information. But for free, we can head over to Furnish Finder, like I mentioned, and that is furnishfinder.com/stats. As I mentioned a second ago, heading over to furnishfinder.com/stats, there's going to be some really important information that you're going to want to look at in this specific page. And what it's actually doing, we're taking Modesto and breaking this down for you guys specifically. So in this search, there was 215 rooms that were available, and those rooms can be a combination of private rooms or even hotels. If you look at the data here, it'll actually show us there's 223 entire whole homes. So you want to look at specific housing demand versus supply. That is incredibly important as you're building. So say again, there's 223 homes, but there is 40,000 searches that have actually been sent for a request from a travel medical professional or somebody searching for a property. We can tell that there was a supply and demand issue, 40,000 searches over 223 whole homes. Rental rates for furnished rentals are extremely important to pay attention to. As I mentioned before, $2,500 a month is the average, or a little bit less than 50% is actually where these folks are looking to spend money. So that gives us a good opportunity knowing that we have the ability to bring in extra cash. Knowing your market opportunity is extremely important, and the way that we figure this out is actually by connecting with folks that are on unmatched leads, which we'll be talking about here in a few minutes. But this gives us a great idea and understanding of what our market opportunities are. So we're looking at whole homes versus individual rooms versus the total count of rooms and homes put together. Use applicable pricing analytic tools and softwares. As I mentioned a minute ago, there is not a lot of software out there besides Price Labs and Mashvisor that can actually show us how much folks are making in the medium-term rental space. So that means we're actually going to have to go and find this stuff manually. So we're going to go to Airbnb, VRBO, online travel agencies, also known as OTAs, where we can pull data. And I would suggest looking for 3 comps. And 3 comps are going to be something that is same and similar. So if you have a three-bedroom home at 2 bathrooms, you go and actually look for those properties that are very same to what your property looks like. Same size, same aesthetics in the property, same design aspects that you're going for. And that's going to give you a good indication of what your property can actually earn. As I mentioned, there's not very much software out there, so you have to be very specific to pull this manual data. And again, we just gave you 3 tools by going to furnishfinder.com/stats. You're able to look at the comps in those markets and actually look at the 3 properties that are same and similar. And you're going to want to run comps to make sure that your property is going to be able to earn the amount of income that you need. Specifically, we're looking to 2x long-term rental rates. So the Modesto property long-term rental rate is $2,200 a month. We already know that. So how are we actually going to 2x the long-term rental rates? Let's break that down. Here are some tips specifically that you're going to want to use when you're wanting to 2x the long-term rental rates. Number 1, don't be another grandma's house. And trust me, I love grandmas, especially the mid-century modern grandma's houses. But design is going to be extremely important as you're building your medium-term rental. As more folks are in the short-term rental industry, are coming into the medium-term rental industry, there's going to be more demand, more opportunities. So you have to make sure that you stand out from the rest of the crowd. So design is going to be so important. Number 2, check marking all the essentials, furnitures, and supplies. This is important because folks are staying at your properties for a longer duration of times. If you see a lot of short-term rentals, they look beautiful, aesthetically pleasing, but you go sit on some of the couches and the beds and they might not be the most comfortable. They look like magazine covers, but somebody won't actually live there for a long amount of time. Keep in mind with medium-term rentals, folks are staying for 30, 60, 90 days, even upwards of a year sometimes. So you want to make sure that you invest in the high-touch items such as a bed, a couch, cookware. All that stuff is important, again, as these folks are actually living in these properties for longer durations of time. So be listed. Let your target avatar find you. What do I actually mean by target avatar? If you're hosting clinicians, if you're hosting relocation claims when it comes to the insurance side, business travelers, you want to make sure you're listed on all these different platforms. So Airbnb, VRBO, Furnish Finder, those are all really important because you can actually have leads that reach out to you. And at that point, you're able to solidify your medium-term rental by those folks that are actually reaching out. One of the important parts about this, though, is if you have a company reaching out to you, that's where you're able to actually build a business by creating a relationship with a relocation specialist, or say a business traveler who is working for an agency. You want to connect and find out who they're working with and try connecting specifically to those companies. And again, online travel agencies like Airbnb and VRBO, a lot of these agencies and companies are actually using those platforms to connect with folks like you and I on Airbnb and VRBO. I feel this is probably one of the better online travel agencies to book. And keep in mind, Furnish Finder just connects landlords to travelers. It is not a booking platform like Airbnb and VRBO. So number 3, make your listing stand out. And I don't know if I have to tell you guys this, but please make sure to get professional photos. We're spending thousands of dollars to get our units listed. It's only a couple $100s to get professional photos. That's why I brought up grandma's house earlier, which again, I love grandmas out there. But you want to make sure that you're standing out from the crowd. So professional photos are so important. Please make sure not to skimp on professional photos. Include a well-written description. We have this beautiful thing right now with AI, right? ChatGPT. ChatGPT can help you build a credible description. I've used it. Many people in this space are using it. So with ChatGPT, their information is not always 100% accurate. So you want to make sure copy and paste some information that will work, but obviously put your own little flair and spin to your listing. Highlight unique features in your property. What does that actually mean? Well, if you have special amenities like, say, a Peloton, which I think is a great idea if you're going to go after clinicians or folks that are wanting to work out. The location, how close are you to hospitals? Do you have a view in your space? You're going to want to make sure that you have all that information in your listing description so that folks, when they're looking for property, they can see that and immediately want to connect with you on your property. Can you 2x your long-term rental income with medium-term rentals? Yes, you can. By understanding your market competition, you will have a better understanding of your market, who the folks are that are in this space. And again, collectively, as a medium-term rental operator, I could tell you that competition is not really that big of a deal in the medium-term rental space, especially if you're working together. And by understanding your avatar's needs, so those are, again, the clinicians that are coming into your market, the travel doctors, the relocation specialists, families who have been displaced due to a fire or flood, knowing what your market can actually handle or knowing the opportunities that are available to you, that's going to help you creatively price your medium-term rental. Going back to the Airbnb things that we talked about through Mashvisor and also through Price Labs, this is going to show us the short-term rental numbers. And again, we want to take a 10% variance of what the short-term rental numbers are reflecting. We want to show that as a decrease. So if our property is $1,000 a month on Airbnb and we see that the top properties are making $1,000 a month, we're going to want to take a 10% variance. So that variance is actually how you get the medium-term rental numbers. And that's what I've been using for many years now, is a 10 to 15% variance based off of the short-term rental numbers on the platforms that we talked about a minute ago. That's how you can accurately get a number that makes sense for your long-term rental rates. And again, we're looking to 2x the long-term rental rates. In order for us to do that, we have to make sure that we know our base price, we know the short-term rental price, and we know the long-term rental and medium-term rental prices. So take all that into account as you're building your medium-term rental portfolio. Thank you for watching this, and please don't forget to like and subscribe to BiggerPockets, as you want to make sure that you're staying up to date on new information that is coming out. So make sure you hit that bell symbol up top, and we will see you in the next one.